Shalom וברוכים הבאים. No, wait. Sorry. My bad. Hello and welcome to another episode of Fun with Flags. This time it's my turn to host, and well, you know me, 50. So yeah, and you also know this guy, right? Soda. How are you doing, Mr. Soda?
I'm good. I'm getting ready to go back to school here.
Yeah, and hold on, let me just take us both out. As you can see, I've got us already in a class. So this is a traditionally typical classroom from Israel, which by
It
the
doesn't
look,
look any. You know what? It doesn't look any different than the high school classroom in North America.
yep. I mean, school is the one thing that hasn't changed in 100 years.
Yep. Sure.
Don't even get me started on how ridiculous that is, because seriously I can go off. But yeah, by the looks of it, kind of looks like a elementary school, fourth grade, I'd say. And the reason we are in a school here today is, well, kids, get out your notebooks and pens and whiteboards and whatever, because today we are going to learn all about the Hebrew language, more specifically, the Hebrew alphabet, the ABCs of Hebrew, if you will. Now, first things first, how familiar are you with the Hebrew language?
Just that I've seen it throughout my watching of like biblical documentaries, and whenever you accidentally forget to switch the keyboard when you text me.
Yeah. Thank you for letting everyone know that I do that. But did you know, Mr. Soda? Did you know that there are actually two types of letters in the Hebrew language?
No, I didn't, but that doesn't surprise me because there are a lot of different areas that do the same thing, so that doesn't really surprise me.
So similar to how English has capital letters and small letters, the Hebrew language sort of does the same, but with a twist. Because in the Hebrew language, there is in print letters and in writing letters. The names are pretty self-explanatory.
Wait. In print and in writing? Like,
yes.
What's the difference?
Well, like I said, the differences is pretty self-explanatory. In print, as you see in front of you.
Oh, so sorry. By in print, you mean like in books?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Books,
Like,
in official
is writing.
Yeah, in books, official documents, something like this. Our group chat, text chats, advertisements, public stores, all kinds of stuff. And in writing, basically, it is what it is. Is how you physically write in a notebook of sorts.
Okay.
But for the purposes of today's episode, I'm mostly going to talk about the printing, because that's really the one that's most relevant to you as someone who I'm assuming isn't really planning on writing any letters in Hebrew to anyone. So this is really the only thing that you're really going to focus on. I will show both, but we will cover both, but these are really the ones you want to most focus on. Now, you'll notice that there's a slight difference between the letters in this picture and this picture.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why that is?
Well, one looks like basically what you're using as a description. One looks like it was written down. The other one looks like it was typed out with a typewriter.
Yes, but clearly there's still a difference between these letters and these letters, where there isn't much of a difference between these letters and these letters. You still haven't spotted the difference then?
Nope.
You'll notice that this image right here has 22 letters in it, while this image actually has 27.
Huh? What?
Yeah. I did say it was complicated last time you talked about
it. English is the hardest language to learn.
Oh, dude, trust me. As someone who grew up speaking Hebrew, it is way harder to learn Hebrew than it is to learn English. Trust me when I say that. Now, the main reason for the discrepancies is Hebrew is one of several different languages, primarily in the Middle East, that actually has something called suffix letters. Have you ever heard the term suffix letters?
Yeah, I've heard of I know what a suffix is.
Yes. So basically, it is what it is. It's whenever a letter is at the end of a word, it changes its form, and in some cases, it also changes the punctuation. And speaking of punctuation, you'll notice that the final square on the bottom left here
Okay.
on this image, there's a couple of dots and lines.
I assume that was punctuation.
Yes, these are several, not all, but several of the many different punctuation marks that the Hebrew language has. Basically, every single word in Hebrew has these punctuation marks. We don't have different punctuations and different pronunciations based on the actual letters that are used in a word or a sentence, like in English. And unlike other Latin/Germanic languages like German, Spanish, French, etc., we don't have letters with punctuation marks as a built-in part of the letter itself.
Yeah, you guys don't have things like the accent aigu, which is like that E with it all over it.
Yeah, or like the U with the two dots on it.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. We don't have that. We just have the regular letters, and the punctuation marks are located somewhere around or even inside the letter itself. Now, most places you'll find won't have these because people who speak Hebrew, who grow up learning the language, are pretty much preconditioned to understand what the word means without having to rely on the punctuation marks. Certain words, especially when reading a novel, a book, a special document, or whatever, they will require to have these punctuation marks. However, if the same word is being used more than, say, 3 or 4 times, by the third or fourth time, they won't have the punctuation marks, because by that point you've seen the word with the punctuation marks enough times that you already know what the word itself means.
Yeah, you're in condition to read it as that variation of the word.
Yeah, for example, shit, I should have brought it. In some of the Harry Potter novels, whenever they bring up a name like, say, Rubius Hagrid or Severus Snape, these punctuation marks are there for the first couple of times that we see the name pop up in the book. But after a couple of times, because those names obviously show up multiple times, they don't show up because you're already familiar with how the word is supposed to be pronounced. Now, one other thing,
just a sidestep on that, like, you're talking about like the U with the 2 dots, whatever. Those never go away in us because we need them.
It's a part of the letter. That's how the letter is. That's how the word looks like. In Hebrew, it's not like that. Now, another thing that we need to talk about is every single letter in the Hebrew alphabet has a numerical value, similar to Greek letters such as I being 1, V being 5, X being 10, etc., etc. But in this case, every single letter has a numerical value, and especially in biblical times, some people still do it today, but especially in biblical times, Hebrew speakers did not use actual numbers to count as numerical values. They used letters. For example, an example of how it's still being used today, I did tell you a couple of episodes ago that there is a different, separate Jewish calendar to the regular calendar that the majority of the world uses. We have a different set of months, which is a topic for another day, but the days themselves are being measured with letters instead of numbers. And that's a topic we'll touch on as we go along with this episode. But should we go ahead and jump into the first letter?
Yes, then? Let's go ahead.
Now, as I mentioned, each letter has 2 different forms. I will show you the printing one first because that's really the one that you need to focus on.
Yeah.
And I'll also cover the writing one, but you really shouldn't pay too much attention to that. So the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet is simply called Aleph, and this is what it looks like.
It almost looks like an F that's doing a disco pose, an X just doing a disco pose.
An X, yeah. I was trying to find an F in that one, but
sorry, I meant to say X.
Yeah, there's a lot of you'll actually find there's a lot of similarities between different letters between English and Hebrew. Some actually have the same meaning. Some could not be further away from each other. Yep. Pretty much that. It's a straight diagonal line with these 2 other lines popping out of it. The letter Aleph is basically, oh, and something else that I should have mentioned is Hebrew, much like English, also has the A-E-I-O-U
The vowel.
letters. Yeah, the vowel. Yeah, thank you. I was trying to find the proper name for it. So, and Aleph is the first of the vowel letters. And what I mean by that is the vowel letters in Hebrew are arguably the most versatile, is because their pronunciation changes depending on the punctuation marks that appear alongside the letter itself. These dots right here at the bottom left square.
So this Aleph is basically your A.
Yes, it's basically A, but it could just as easily be E or O, E, A, E, O, A. It's
Really?
like I said, yeah, it's an incredibly versatile letter because it's a vowel letter. So depending on the punctuation, it could either be an A, O, E, or E sound. And
I'm actually writing this down.
Well, I actually got you to write something. So this is how the letter looks like in writing. Now, I do have a comparison between the writing and the print.
It's in your name.
We will get to that by the end.
Okay.
So this is what it looks like in writing. You'll notice that there's the printing on the right and the writing on the left. Some of these letters look completely different from their printing counterparts.
Yeah.
Some look mostly the same, just a lot more smooth.
Because the one on the left, it looks like it could either be a K with a lazy thing, or it could be a C that got super glued to an L.
Yeah. Like I said, some of these look really different from their printed counterparts. Some look roughly the same, just a lot more rounded. The main difference between the printing and the writing is the printing is much more straight and angular, while the writing is much more softer and more round.
It's almost like it's almost the difference between like printing your letters and handwriting your letters, cursive, which they don't teach over here anymore.
Yeah, pretty much. But you still do notice that there is that one straight line. It's just the two curvy ones sort of meet to form a half circle type thing. So this is the letter Aleph. The next letter in the Hebrew alphabet is called Bet. So the first two letters of the Hebrew alphabet are literally called Aleph and Bet.
I like that. It almost looks like a one that's hung over.
Yeah, but the Aleph and Bet, it's almost as if it was planned that way.
It's almost like it came from, like, this is the origins or something.
Yeah, it's almost like this language is incredibly old. But yeah, the letter Bet is basically the Hebrew equivalent of the letter B. It's sort of the B sound. However, depending on the punctuation, it could just as easily be a V.
Really?
Yes. It could. It's mostly used as the B, but it could just as easily be V. And
right about the versatility. That's interesting.
Yeah, a lot. This sort of happens with a lot of Hebrew letters. This is the writing equivalent.
Wow, again, they don't look anything alike.
Well, they sort of do. It's just instead of the straight line at the bottom, it sort of curves upwards and then falls down.
It looks as the one on the left looks like a really tall man sitting in a very short room.
Yeah, he kind of looks a bit uncomfortable, doesn't he?
A little bit.
So let's put him out of his misery and take this thing off. Now, with now we have the first two letters, we are now ready to construct our first word in the Hebrew alphabet. Abba.
Ah, the band.
Yeah. No, not the band. Not Ababa with two B's, one B. Abba is the Hebrew word. Sorry. Abba is the Hebrew word for dad or father.
Oh.
Because we have the same word for both. We don't have. This is another thing you'll notice with a lot of Hebrew words is that rather than having several different words that all have the same meaning, we have one word that means several different things. Like the word Abba being both father and dad.
That actually makes it a lot a lot more streamlined. So do you have
Lazy.
like slang words like that? Because that's generally what like paw and ma and pop and all that stuff. Those are slang words over here. Do you have anything like that in your language that also mean like father or whatever?
Not for the word father, but we do have slang words for other things.
Okay, okay.
But yeah, father, dad, papa, all of that basically means father.
Cool.
Abba, sorry. Now,
when I kiss the teacher. Sorry, I was singing ABBA songs.
we can do that later. But
karaoke time on Fun with Flags.
Yes. This, by the way, is something we don't have here, that red cup that you just drank from.
Really? You don't have red Solo cups?
Nope. You have different
why, but I prefer drinking my beverages out of these because it just has a better taste. I don't know if it's just me or not, but yeah, I'll drink anything out of a red Solo cup.
Okay. We have different plastic cups. I don't think I have any on me right now, but again, story for another day.
Yeah.
So are we ready for the third letter then?
Yes, let's go ahead. So we've got Aleph and Bet.
Yes, Aleph, Bet, and now Gimel.
Gimel?
Gimel. Like Gimli, but Gimel. And it also...
that up again?
It also
I'm
sort of...
trying to write these down.
Cool.
It almost looks like the same guy is trying now to walk out of the room.
Still with his back crouched over.
So Gimel?
Gimel. It also sort of syncs up with the Greek letters again.
Gamma.
Alpha, beta, gamma, delta.
I've been noticing that.
Yeah. Again, it's almost as if one copied the other, but who came first, the chicken or the egg? Now, as you probably guessed by now, the letter Gimel is basically the letter G. It doesn't go from A to B to C.
So basically, before we continue, so basically the name of the letter is basically corresponding to what the letter represents. So Aleph is A, Bet is B, Gimel is G.
Yeah, and it's another difference between the Hebrew alphabet and the English alphabet is that every single letter in the Hebrew alphabet starts with itself, essentially. When you write down the name of the letter, the first letter you write is the actual letter of the letter.
Yeah, we've got a few of those, but not all of them.
Yeah, some English letters do, but not all of them. In Hebrew, all of them.
Like the one that comes to mind right off the top of my head is V.
Yeah, but F, for example, doesn't start with the letter F.
No,
right?
it's an EF. Or same with X. It's not starting with an X, it's an EX.
Or M.
It's EM. N. I guess N, I think you might be able to might be the same thing. But yeah.
Or W.
Right. But O and P aren't like that.
Yeah. So it's sort of half and half. But in Hebrew, all letters start with
all the English, always half-assing it. All right.
Hey, well, I mean, blame the British for that one.
Yeah.
Now, as I mentioned, the letter Gimel is basically a G, meaning that every word with the letter Gimel in it is basically a G sound. However, and this is where we get to our first, and I guess only punctuation mark we will be discussing today, apostrophe. If the letter Gimel has an apostrophe above it, it changes from being a G sound to a J sound, like J or G, essentially.
Okay.
The letter
G. Here's a funny thing. So there's a correlation between French and Hebrew in there. So in English, obviously the J is pronounced J and the G is pronounced the G. In French, it's the other way around. And that's actually how the spelling of my last name came about, because the original spelling is M-A-J-E-A-U, not M-A-G. And the family story is when one of my relatives was doing a census, it was to an English person taking it down. And when he spelled out the last name, M-A-G, he was saying it in French. So it was supposed to be M-A-J, but he said it in French. So it was M-A-G. And that's how they wrote it down. So there actually still is a side of my family that has the original spelling, but then there's the rest of us who, because of some cross, it got changed.
names can be very confusing sometimes, especially surnames.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, when the apostrophe is in the letter Gimel, it could create stuff like, say, Jack or John. There's a reason why I'm using those specific names. We'll get back to that.
Yeah, that makes me wonder there's actually a J letter.
We'll get to that. I mean, actually, no, there isn't. It's just the Gimel.
So that makes sense then, right?
Yeah. That's why there's so fewer letters in Hebrew, because there's less need for that. And for completionist's sake, this is what the letter Gimel looks like in writing.
Oh, it looks like a sickle on the left.
Yeah, and remember this shape. We will get back to that eventually.
So the shape of the one on the left?
Yeah, the writing one.
Yeah, so that's the apostrophe then, the little hat.
No.
Oh.
That's how the letter itself looks like, without any punctuation marks at all.
Okay.
So we went Aleph, Bet, and Gimel.
Gimel or Gimel, depending if it's got an apostrophe.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, following Greek letters, alpha, beta, and gamma, what comes after gamma?
Alpha, beta, gamma, delta?
Yes, which brings us to the Hebrew letter Dalet.
Ooh, it looks like a T.
Yes, a T. Just the line at the middle sort of shifted a bit.
So, did you just say it was called a Dalek?
Dalet.
Dalet. Oh, close.
Yeah.
Cool.
And Dalet is the Hebrew letter, is basically the equivalent of D. A, B, C, D. Sort of just the C was sort of changed to a Gimel, to a G.
I am actually writing those down beside the thing. Because I got a feeling there's going to be a test.
I mean, I don't have one planned, but I might come up with it.
Because I usually winged these in high school.
So don't panic. This is what the letter itself looks like in writing.
Wow. One of these. Wow.
I did say some of these look nothing like their writing counterparts.
It looks like a noodle.
Yeah, it's the swirly one. And it's very easy to confuse with another letter that we will get to eventually. But this is sort of when the Hebrew alphabet and the Greek alphabet sort of split off into different directions. Because now we have the Hebrew letter Hey.
Hey.
Hey. Basically, that's basically what it is. It's the letter Hey.
Cool.
I'll wait for you to write it down.
Yeah, I've got it. I just spelled it like I would in English, but it honestly, it looks like an N that had some surgery.
And it might also look like another letter that we will get to eventually that had that surgery that you mentioned. But the letter Hey is the second vowel letter. Okay. And it's basically the equivalent of the letter H in English.
Which H is not a vowel. So interesting.
Yeah. But basically it can be, like I said, it being a vowel, the pronunciation depends on the punctuation, meaning it could be ha, he, ho, ha, he, hu, he. That sort of a thing.
That sounds like me walking on something hot.
Ha, hu, he.
Basically. I can just imagine it now in a comic strip. Just somebody's walking over like a thing of coals, and in the bubble is just the letter hey.
You're in the ballpark, but because comic books don't actually use punctuation marks in Hebrew, it's just a full complete word, but with two letters.
Okay.
Which, with another vowel word letter that we will get to pretty soon. So this is what it looks like in writing. Like I said, it's pretty much the same, just curvier.
It looks like an ear.
I never noticed that before. Because I'm just too conditioned to see it as what it is. It's as a letter. Now, after the letter Hey, we have another vowel letter, Vav. Vav. Yes. And while you're writing this down, the letter Vav is essentially the Hebrew equivalent of O or U or double O or W or V. It's one of the most versatile letters in the Hebrew alphabet. Basically, again, because it's a vowel, depending on the punctuation, it could either be U or O, but never we. Well, sometimes we, but that depends on other letters and other punctuation in the word itself. However, depending on the punctuation, it could just as well be the, another equivalent of V. But for the most part, it's usually used as a V in cases of where you see the that word, that letter used twice in the same word.
Oh,
I will say it could also, in some cases, be an end. Not an end just when it's attached to the beginning of a word. It could be and something.
oh, gotcha. Oh,
Like
interesting.
you and me and him and her. The letter, just the letter vav over and over again.
I'm actually writing that part down. So Vav is also OU, and I use the and symbol. Interesting.
Yeah. Like I said, it's one of the most versatile ones. It can either be O, double O, U, W, and V, all of the same letter.
And not W, just U. Right?
No, W. The letter W.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sorry if I was
Oh,
confused.
gotcha. I was following along with the double O thing.
Yeah,
That's
I
pretty cool.
probably should have worded that better. I apologize.
All good. All good.
And this is what the letter itself looks like in writing. It's just a straight line.
Yeah, it's
Don't read too much into it. It's
uppercase I, lowercase L.
Yeah, pretty much. Now, the next letter in the Hebrew alphabet is Zayin. Now, if it looks a little bit similar to the letter Daled, which looks like this, I'll just.
The only difference is that curve where it connects.
Yes, that's why when usually when used in writing, the curve is much more pronounced than in the image that I was able to find.
What's it called?
Zayin. Zayin. Yes. Basically, it's like the letter Z equivalent, or Z, depending on who you ask. But yes, it's the letter. It's a Z. However, much like one of the previous words we talked about, if it has an apostrophe above it, it could also be J, a J sound. It's either Z or J. So I brought with the letter Gimel, I brought the example of John and Jack. If it's with the Z with an apostrophe, it's Jean or Jacques.
Yeah.
So Gimel with an apostrophe, John, Jack. Zayin with an apostrophe, Jean, Jacques.
So it makes it French.
Pretty much, yeah. The apostrophe Frenchanizes things.
Which is pretty hilarious because je is I in French. Je, it refers to I.
Oh yeah, I know that. Je t'aime, I love.
Exactly. So that makes sense when you say like what it becomes. Like Jean. It makes sense that it's French.
No. It's easier to explain to a guy who knows more than one language. That's really the advantage of having you here.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, like I know French, I know English, but I mean I can pick up on other languages because a lot of them all come from the same root, which is Latin.
Yeah, and to me, I had to physically learn other letters in English, but once I did that, it was an easy sort of transitioning to other languages that use the same letters.
Yeah, it's like for example, I went to a Catholic school, which is called Veritas, which is Latin for truth. Now,
I know that.
Going to French, vérité is French for truth. And there's also this, I don't know what the Spanish word is off the top of my head, but I do know it's a similar root because French and Spanish have a lot of similarities like that.
Yeah, and if I told you the Hebrew word for truth, it sounds nothing like that.
Yeah.
Do you want to guess what it is?
I don't think I could ever guess it, but I'm gonna probably get a giggle out of it.
Do you want a hint?
Sure.
It's Doc Brown's first name.
Emmett?
Emmett. Yeah.
So Dr. Truth Brown. I like it.
I did say, oh yeah, absolutely. Where is it? Thank you for bringing that up. This is for you, Ben. I feel like we're bringing that picture up in every single episode we do, right?
It's only appropriate.
Yeah, we kind of have to. Now, I did say there is similarity between the letter Zayin and the letter Gimel. This is what it looks like in writing. It's like the letter Gimel just flipped.
Oh, and I see what you mean by it's pronounced. Like, I mean, like that curve?
Yeah, the curve. Yeah, the curve.
It's way more noticeable here.
Yeah, much more than this.
Yeah, and the other one also looks like a sickle.
Yeah, so for comparison, this is the letter Zayin. This is the letter Gimel. So when the curve is from right to left, it's Gimel. When it's from left to right, it's Zayin.
Huh,
it's very, very easy to get confused, even even with seasonal Hebrew speakers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I still get confused sometimes. Now, the next letter is the letter Chet.
What did you say I call it?
Chet.
Chet.
Yeah, like Chaim Saban or Chaim Topol, which
or Chaim Weiss, the birth name of one Gene Simmons of Kiss.
Oh yeah, he's also named Chaim.
You didn't know he's actually from Israel. He was born in Israel.
Well, I knew that because you kept telling me about it, but I didn't know his name was
Chaim. His birth name is Chaim Weiss, and then it got anglicized to Gene Klein when his family moved to New York.
How do you go from Chaim Weiss to Gene Klein?
No. Klein. So before him and his mom got to America, he had an uncle and relatives who were over there, so they took the name Klein. So that's where he grabbed Klein from. I don't know how they fell on Gene though.
Wait! They moved to America? Isn't Kiss a British band?
No, Kiss is an American band. New York City, baby, 1972. No. Gene Simmons is the only one that was actually born out of America.
Okay, that's cool to know.
He lived, if I'm not mistaken, he lived in Israel until he was about 10 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, the letter Chet, basically, this is the word that's most pronounced when using the word Lechaim.
Oh, Lechaim.
Yeah, and I think there is an equivalent to that in French, but since I don't know it, it's the equivalent in Spanish is J, like naranja, orange juice. I think it's orange juice. So yeah, J in Spanish is a ch type sound.
So that's the J.
In English, whenever Hebrew names are being translated into English, they mostly use the letter H for some reason. Either H or CH, which I guess comes from German, because in In German, CH is the ch.
Yeah, right, and some of that, but that actually makes sense that is the H, that in English it's H, because H is the closest that will actually give you that thing.
Yeah. Spoiler for another episode. But basically think of it as like that one episode from Family Guy where everybody put an unnecessary pronunciation emphasis on the H, like cool whip. We're going to be here for a while. Do you have the whip?
Oh,
remember that episode?
Yeah, oh yeah. Cool whip. Yeah, that was a big thing over here when that episode aired for a long time.
Yeah, so basically this is the sound that this letter makes.
Okay, so it's the huh sound.
Yeah, it's
a hard H. It's a hard H.
Yeah, hard H, and this is what it looks like in writing. Pretty much the same, just more curvy. That's all.
Looks like two different forms of staple nails.
Yeah, I suppose.
Interesting. Okay, hard H. Huh. All right.
And we move from the letter Chet to the letter Tet, which is basically a T.
Tet is the French word for head. Tet.
Sorry. I just had to drink my tea.
Very nice.
Yeah, I timed it perfectly. But yeah, this is the letter T, and really nothing special about it. It's just T.
It's fucking snowing outside, and it's mid-March.
Well, I mean, we have bright sunny days with no clouds in January, February, so you know.
Well, you're
it all balances out.
It's all relative.
Yeah. This is what it looks like in writing.
Oh, okay.
The one on the left.
Interesting.
Just a curve. And now we are on to the 10th letter in the Hebrew alphabet, and quite possibly the most complicated, despite its relatively small size, Yud.
Good.
Yud.
It looks like the Vav, but shorter.
Yeah, it's tiny. It's easily the smallest letter in the Hebrew alphabet, but it's probably the most complicated one.
Oh,
Now,
interesting.
yeah.
What is the English equivalent to it?
Basically, it's like a Y. Think of it as a Y.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Hence the name Yud. Some people like to say Yod, but not me, because I don't know why. I just say Yud. Now, Yud is also the final vowel letter.
What's funny is that the vowels in English are A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. How come Y is never a vowel?
It depends on the use.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are
that's the only letter in the English language that is like that.
Well, see, we're teaching each other stuff here.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the letter Yud is mostly a Y, but again, because it's a vowel, depending on the pronunciation, it could be you, ya, ye, you, yo, etc., etc. But there's always the yi at the beginning before it changes into the different pronunciation depending on the punctuation.
Yeah, so basically punctuation and what comes after.
Yeah, unlike some of the other vowel language letters in the Hebrew language. This is what it looks like in writing. As I said, it's tiny. It's like a tiny dot sometimes.
That actually looks like an apostrophe.
Yes, it's like an apostrophe, just in the actual line itself. Apostrophe is usually above the letter itself. The letter Yud is part of the word. Sorry, the word.
Cool.
Now, this the letter Yud is the 10th letter in the Hebrew alphabet. I did mention earlier that the Hebrew letters have numerical values, right? Didn't I?
Yes, you did.
Yeah, meaning Aleph is 1.
1.
Bet means 2. Gimel is 3, etc., etc., until you get to Yud. Now, once you get to Yud, the next letter in the Hebrew alphabet is equal to 20. However, in order to get to 20, you gotta you basically gotta have to jump through some hoops. And by what I mean by that is that after the letter Yud, which represents the number 10, the number 11 is represented by Yud Aleph. The number 12 is Yud Bet. The number 13 is Yud Gimel. And the 14 is Yud Daled. Now,
there's another correlation to French. So once you get up to 60, and up to 90, so there is no numerical equivalent in saying 70 or 80. So what you do is you take 60, which is soixante, and then you take 10, which is 10. So 70 is soixante-dix, 60-10. 80 is soixante-vingt, which is 60-20.
okay.
And then, so 74 is soixante-quatorze.
Wow,
14.
That's pretty complicated.
Yeah.
That's a lot to remember. Now, I did say that 11 is Yud Aleph, 12 is Yud Bet, 13 is Yud Gimel, and 14 is Yud Daled. Can you tell me what 15 is?
Yud Hey.
You mean this?
Yes.
Well, no. I'm sorry to do this to you, but there is no Yud Hey in numerical value in Hebrew.
There's no 15?
Yeah, there is. But do you know why? Can you guess why there is no Yud Hey in Hebrew?
Actually, I don't think I know. I don't know why.
Because the combination of Yud Hey is what is commonly used in the Bible to represent God's name. It's basically a shorter version
of Yehovah.
Of Yehovah, which is Jehovah.
Oh,
and
that's cool.
And saying the Lord's name in vain is forbidden.
It's forbidden everywhere, but we still do it over here.
as seen by this guy.
Jehovah, Jehovah, Jehovah! I'm warning you, if you say Jehovah once more, right, who's through that?
So yeah, you don't want to end up like that guy.
I love that you used that clip from my favorite Monty Python movie. All right, who did that?
That tone, come on.
That's funny that is considered taking the name in vain because you're not swearing.
There are several different ways of writing God's name in the Bible. Sometimes it's just the letter Hey with an apostrophe. Sometimes it's sometimes it's a straight up Yehovah.
Yeah.
Sometimes I have seen on at least one occasion the letter Dalid, which like what the hell? But yeah, Yehovah is the name of is God's name, and because he's ashamed of that stupid name that his mother gave him, he forbade people to say his name out loud.
I'm going to use that next time I see my grandma. I'm going to tell her that you know why it's bad to use God's name in vain? Because he hates the fact that his mother named him that. And he refuses for anyone to say it. I'm going to tell her that next time I see her. She's going to laugh.
That's a 50 original, by the way.
I like that. That's a good one.
But because the combination of Yud Hey is too similar to Yehovah, it is forbidden. It sort of became forbidden to use Yud Hey as the numerical value for 15, as well as Yud Vav. So there is no Yud Hey or Yud Vav. Instead, and this is where things get complicated, rather after Yud Daled, it just goes into Tet Vav. Because Tet is the equivalent of 9 and Vav is the equivalent of 6. Together, they make 15. And moving on to that, there's...
French, 60, 20 equals 80.
Yeah. And moving on to that, the next letter is Tet Zayin. Still, again, 9 plus 7 equals 16. And after 16, we basically... What?
Would it be Tet Het, which is 18? 17?
No, because after Tet Zayin, we basically go back to our regularly scheduled programming with Yud Zayin, Yud Chet, and Yud Tet. And after that confusing detour, we now move on to the letter which its numerical value equals 20, the letter Kaf.
Kaf.
Or Chaf sometimes.
Okay.
This letter is basically, if it looks like a C, that's because that's basically what it is. It's a C and a K sometimes. However, once again, depending on the punctuation, it could just as well be another Chet, depending on the usage in a letter. That's why there's a discrepancy between the letter between the letter Kaf or Chaf, depending on how you pronounce it. And going back into the numerical value, after the letter Chaf, you get Kaf Aleph, Kaf Bet, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. And that's the same thing for every other letter that comes after it. It's for some reason it's only Yud, which is the most problematic. Now, this is what the letter itself looks like in writing. Mm-hmm. And here's another interesting transition between Yud and Chaf. Is Yud is the last of the vowels.
Yeah.
Kaf is also the first of the suffix letters.
Oh, suffix, okay.
Yeah, so when the letter Kaf is used at the end of a letter, at the end of a word, it changes its form and looks like this. And you're going to notice this a bunch of times with all these suffix letters. Is basically my rationale for this. It's basically Pokemon. The suffix letter is basically an evolved form of the letter. It looks exactly like the letter itself, just more, or slightly more complete, much more evolved, if you will.
Cool.
Now, unfortunately, for some stupid reason, the suffix Chaf is the only letter I couldn't find when looking for these images, so we'll just have to contend with this. I don't even think you can see any of it.
Kind of?
Yeah, so basically, this is a suffix Chaf in writing. Sorry, in print. This is a suffix Chaf in writing.
It looks like either Jafar's staff Or the Seventh Doctor's question mark. No, I'm kidding.
Or you know, just an ankh.
Or an onk. Yeah, an onk. Yeah.
It's like a curve
Yeah.
with a line.
Yeah.
So this is the letter, and one final note on the letter Chaf is that when the letter Chaf is in at the end of a word and becomes a suffix Chaf, it will always be a ch sound as opposed to a k. Now there are instances, rare ones, but there are instances where a kaf appears at the end of a word and retains the k sound, in which case it remains looking like this, not a suffix kaf, and sorry, a suffix chaf. It will always when those rare instances occur, it will still look like a regular kaf. That's how you know that it's pronounced with a k sound at the end as opposed to
Is there a letter called link? Cuff link? I'm sorry, that's a bad dad joke.
Do we have the Seinfeld? Oh, there it is. Okay, and since you made that joke, oddly enough, the next letter in the Hebrew alphabet is Lamed, which is literally an L. Like it's the sound of an L. Not when you lose something, it's just L.
Yeah.
A L.
It looks like an L fell over and threw up.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that now. Yeah, but you know, we went through a couple of complicated ones. There really is nothing to overcomplicate things. There's no apostrophe, there's no punctuation marks, no nothing. It's just a regular L, and this is what it looks like in writing. Prepare yourself. It might look a little bit weird.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. Yeah,
Looks like a fancy D.
It kind of looks like Charlie Chaplin's cane with they became pregnant or something, or Charlie Chaplin's cane with a massive behind.
I was gonna say it looks like a limp musketeer sword,
or a musketeer sword that sort of that met Uri Geller and got bent over.
Yeah, just need some blue chew.
Yeah. And you might do well to remember the shape of the writing Lamed, because it's going to come up again. But at this point, we are now back to where the Hebrew alphabet sort of syncs up with the English alphabet. What comes after the letter L in English?
In English, it's M.
Yes, which is why the next letter in the Hebrew alphabet is Mem.
Mem.
Mem, not M, Mem. Like a meme, just, mem.
It looks like the same guy praying.
but praying in Islam, I think, because it's
yeah, pretty much
on his knees with his hands on the ground.
Yeah.
And this is another not so very complicated one. It's basically just an M. There's really nothing too complicated about that. However, I'm going to show you what it looks like in writing. And prepare yourself. This might be a bit of a shock.
So the M is an N?
It looks like an N, but it's an M. I promise you that.
I believe you. Wow, even the written one's different.
The printing one.
The printing one, sorry.
No, it's sort of the same. I mean, both are kind of correct. It's just, different fonts, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
But as far as writing, it's pretty much the same.
That looks more like a roof with a chimney poking out.
Yeah. That's kind of how teachers use to describe the letter itself when teaching it at school. Now, with the letter M, we now have another word that we can pronounce. The word Ima.
Ima.
Yes. It's the Hebrew word for mom or mother or mommy. We talked about Abba being father. Ima means mother. Abba,
so if I ever hear you say Ima on the phone, it means you're talking to your mom.
Yeah, exactly. And if I say Abba, I'm talking to my dad.
Now, question. What do you call your stepfather?
Abba choreg.
And hoek is the equivalent to step, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Cool. Okay.
So it's also the a Hebrew word for something else, but I don't know what a good equivalent to that in English is. Now, mem is also a suffix letter. And remember what I said earlier about the suffix letters looking more complete, more evolved. This is basically what it is. It kind of looks like a square O in a way.
Yeah, I've actually seen this one before. Like this is one that I recognize.
Really? From where?
Yeah, just like watching documentaries and stuff when they show like original Hebrew writing and stuff like that. Like I actually recognize that one for whatever reason.
And this is another one of those letters that look completely different between the printing and writing. This is what it looks like in writing.
So it's Po. P-O.
Well, kind of. That square is the printing equivalent. The one on the left that looks like a P, that's the mem, the suffix mem. Now, Mr. Soda, what comes after M?
N.
Exactly. And now we have the letter Nun.
Noon. Wow.
Like noon, the time of day.
Yep.
Noon.
That makes it easy.
Yep.
Some of these look kind of similar.
I mean, because it's the same language, so a lot of different.
No. I mean, in Hebrew, like the bet and the noon almost look alike.
Yeah. That's what I'm referring to. It's sort of like a template. If you actually notice that a lot in English as well, you'll notice that some letters kind of look the same, like they're built from the same template, like say E and F, or W and M.
M and N.
Yeah. And
T and I.
Yeah, T and I, exactly. So these are sort of the language templates that they keep repeating themselves. Now, this is what it looks like in printing. This is the writing equivalent. You'll see the writing on the left and the printing on the
Justice League.
Right. And it's also another suffix letter.
Oh, so we're in the land of suffixes. Okay.
Yeah. You'll see it here. You can kind of see it twice. It's the same letter, just one is bigger.
Yeah, it's like capital lowercase.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's basically, like I said, the evolved form of a noon. It's basically the same letter, just longer. It's like a vav, but longer. Same thing goes for the writing equivalent of it. Just a line, but longer. So much so that it actually sort of goes out of the line when writing it on a notebook with lines in it.
Cool.
So we good?
We're good.
Now I ask you this: what comes after the letter N in English?
O.
But we already did O. It was Vav.
Yep.
So why do we have this in the Hebrew language?
Because some people want to watch the world burn.
Okay, that's an interesting hypothesis. This is the Hebrew letter Samich.
Samech. So, okay, what is that the equivalent of?
S. I mean, it should have been obvious from the way that the letter started. We did mention that each letter starts with itself. And Samich is the letter S.
Samech.
Or Samich.
Cool. Yeah, that kind of looks like it looks like an O with a pointy head.
In some cases, it looks like an O with a haircut, with a hairdo. And this is basically the writing. It's basically an O.
Whereas the other one looks like a U with a roof.
Yeah, that's the printing equivalent.
Yeah.
The one
U with the roof.
Okay. The U with the roof, that's print. The other one is the writing equivalent. Nothing too fancy there. And now this is again where the two languages, the Hebrew and English alphabets, sort of split, which brings us to the letter Ein.
Ein.
Whoops, sorry, my bad. The letter Ein. Sorry, I overstepped and I actually show you the writing equivalent first.
All good.
Ein. Basically, it's like another aleph, just with a really strong emphasis. Like where aleph is ain is ah. Well, so like a hard A.
Oh. Okay, so America, Adirondack. I got it. Okay, gotcha. Hard A.
So like, I mean, that's not a word, but America instead of America.
Yeah.
And I just came up with another idea for another letter. So another word. This from your limited knowledge of what the letters you've learned today, can you tell me what this is?
Shit, I forgot to write down the long I thing. Einyud?
Ein, Yud, and suffix nun.
Oh. Einyud nun. I don't know what that means.
It literally means ein.
Oh.
Yeah, it's the
You just spelled out the letter.
yes, but it is also the Hebrew word for eye,
Oh.
the body part, the
Oh.
organ. So basically, ein is like an eye. Think of it like that. Not the letter, not me, an actual human
So
eye.
it's like with us, we've got the letter I and we've got the word I.
Yeah, pretty much.
Nice to know that that's universal.
And this is the writing equivalent. The swirly one is the writing.
That looks like the religious symbol for Jesus, actually. The fish.
Yeah, just hanging upside down.
With a ball bearing in it. That's the Home Improvement joke. You have to watch this show.
All right, fine. It looks like you just took the fish out of the water and you're.
Yeah. But in that episode, one of the kids he's looking after his girlfriend's fish, but the fish actually dies, and so they're like trying to make how we can hide this from her. So one of them gets the idea to put a ball bearing in it, and it just is vertical in the water, dead.
The creativity of children.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are slightly back to form with the LMNOP. After we've got pay.
Whoa, that's the hardest one to write.
I was wondering what actually stay tuned. There might be another one that's even harder.
Okay, that's pay.
Actually, looking at the rest of them, they kind of get really, really tough from here on out. But basically, it is the equivalent of the letter P, and in some cases an F, depending on the punctuation. So it's both P and F. So basically, this is it can be explained as like a PH.
So basically, it's like in English the two versions of fat, F-A-T, which is me, and then there's fat, P-H-A-T, which is like something that's really cool.
Yeah, pretty much. It's a P and a F.
I like that.
This is the writing equivalent. The writing one is a little easier. It's just, a swirl that sort of enters itself.
Yeah.
In a way. And this is also another suffix letter. This is the suffix form of pay. And as you see, it's the same thing, just longer. Instead of sitting down, now it's standing up. And look who came to join the fun.
Yeah, look who's awake.
You ready to learn about letters, Bear?
I don't know if he's paying attention.
I knew I was going to have one problem student in this class. Just didn't think it'd be someone other than me. And just like the letter chaf, whenever a suffix pay is at the end of a word, it automatically becomes the F sound, the F sound. Now, just like with the letter chaf, there are rare instances where a word ends with the letter pay, but it's not a suffix, meaning it retains its P sound whenever it's used in a word. Now, this is the how it looks like in writing, and prepare yourself for a bit of a shock.
Whoa, that looks like a triple clef.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a triple clef. That's awesome.
And
for those of you who don't know what a triple clef is, it is what you see at the beginning of a line.
It's music. Yeah, it's a musical note. I know that.
It's not a note. It's not a note.
Oh, it's not?
No, so it basically references to which. So there's two clefs. There's two main clefs. There's the treble clef, which is that one, which is the standard one, and then there's the bass clef, which a lot of brass instruments use. So trombone, tuba, euphonium, and stuff like that. So it's a different note combination. That's what the clef refers to. It indicates to you that you got to read this differently.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is a different form of the letter, the suffix letter F, P, is suffix P in writing, and the reason I'm putting that much this specifically because it's going to come up later. Are we good? You've sort of
We're good. We're good. Yeah.
there.
No, you lagged. We're
Okay.
good.
One of us lagged. I don't know, but
There's a
now
lag.
we're on to. Shut up. Now we're on to the letter Tzadik.
Sadik
Tzadik.
almost sounds like Sardak.
Basic. Yeah, pretty much. But it does. It's not that. Think of it. What?
Is it hi, Kazran?
Yeah. Hi, Kazra. Think of it as T and Z together.
Oh yeah, okay, I can see that.
That is a type of pronunciation that I don't think the English language has an equivalent to, and I'm not even sure the French language has. It's a tse,
It's a what, sir?
tse, tse, tse.
There might be some words that have that afflection to it, but no, not typically.
Now, say that again. By the way,
I said there might be some words that have that.
no, not that. The tse.
Tse,
Every time you say that, bear perks up.
tse,
Tse, tse, tse,
tse.
tse.
He's just sitting there like
What?
He's got his tongue sticking. Oh yeah.
We all love Bear.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
This is the writing equivalent.
So a 3.
It kind of looks like a 3, but also isn't. I mean, there are subtle differences. You kind of need to grow up knowing what this letter means to notice the differences between the letter 3 and this letter.
Mhm.
But it basically looks like a lesser version of a writing Dalet.
Oh yeah, I see that.
There are a lot of people that still to this day get confused when reading the letter Dalet as a tzaddik or vice versa.
I can
The letter
see that.
tzaddik.
I can see that.
And this letter also is equal to the number 90 in the Hebrew language. We sort of skipped some of the less important letters. And this is also the final suffix letter. This is the suffix equivalent.
That looks like a stick.
I was going to say that it looks like the letter Y.
That too.
Like for a long time, the letter Y kind of reminded me of the letter of the.
It
A
is. Yeah, it's mirror flipped.
Yeah, kind of. Now there is no really special rule about. Well, I just noticed that we still have the word ein.
Yeah, I was gonna try to take it off, but then I realized I don't know which banner thing it was under. So
No, that's the thing about banners. It looks different for each person depending on who's using it.
yeah,
It's weird, but yeah. So the letter tzaddik has no special technical rules to it. Doesn't change its pronunciation. However, the letter tzaddik itself, and thank God I remember that. Sorry, thank Jehovah I remembered that.
Jehovah, Jehovah, Jehovah! I'm warning you, if you say Jehovah once more, right, who's through that?
no. It's thank Yud Hey.
The what?
Thank Yud Hey.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. But yeah, so when the letter tzaddik has an apostrophe above it, it goes from being a ts sound to being a ch sound,
Oh,
like a ch, like say,
so Charizard.
Charger, yeah,
I said
Charger,
Charizard actually.
Oh yeah, Charizard, Charmander, Charmeleon, or you could go Chantho.
That too.
Which, by the way, another thing I forgot, there is no th equivalent in Hebrew.
Oh,
So we don't have like something like the word the. We don't have the. So a lot of times when Hebrew speakers try to speak English badly, they just use the letter Daled as the closest possible equivalent that they have.
Gotcha.
Like the water, the television, the door, the whatever. You see?
So that explains why it sounds like they're saying it with a D.
Yeah, because there is no Hebrew equivalent to D.
See, I thought it was because of the accent.
No, there is no. Well, I guess it is technically.
Technically is, but I mean, there's actually a logistical reason for it. That's interesting.
Yeah, so now you understand why we're so dumb.
No, you're not dumb. You're just
You understand our dumbness.
You're
now,
unique.
This is how it looks like in writing. Prepare yourself for this.
Also looks like a treble clef.
Yeah, and here's sort of how they teach it in high school. Is like it's a 3-stage form between a lamed, a suffix tzadik, and a suffix pei. You can kind of see, you can kind of notice that there is a progression there.
Yeah,
right. From
it's literally an evolution.
Pretty much it's a 3-stage evolution from this to this, and then this. This was one of the the hardest letter for me personally to learn how to write when I was in 1st grade.
I can imagine.
Now, with the letter 90, that, like I said, this is the final suffix letter, which brings us to the letter which equals in numerical value to 100 kuf.
Oof.
Kuf. Some people say kof, but I say kuf. I never understood why some people say yod instead of yud, or ku or kof instead of kuf, but some people do. And
well, because a lot of those things have different pronunciations, just the way it is.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah.
Koof. Okay, now for simplification purposes.
By the way, I am still writing.
Yeah, and this is basically how the letter itself is written. This is the name, just like with the letter ein. This is how the letter itself is written. Cool. But when you say like kof, it's the Hebrew word for ape or monkey. Fun fact, we don't actually have a proper distinction between ape or monkey. To us, it's just kof.
Wow, Planet of the Apes must really be confusing in Hebrew.
Yeah, thank God. We didn't translate. Actually, I don't even know if we did translate it into Hebrew. But basically, it's like the planet of kofs. Kochava Kofim.
I'm actually going to look that up real quick while you're going to the next one.
And for completionist's sake, this is the writing equivalent. Again, pretty much the same, just more curved. Now, while you're looking something up, I will just say that with the letter kuf being 100, now we basically go back to in numerical value, we move back into the first letters we talked about, kuf aleph, kuf bet, kuf gimel, etc., etc., etc.
In French, 101, 102, 101, 102, 103, which is 3. Same thing.
Yeah, and obviously once we get to the tens, we get kuf yud aleph, kuf yud bet, etc., etc. It's the same thing with not saying kuf yud hey. It's kuf tet vav, kuf tet zayin, etc., etc. Until you get to 199, which basically is like it brings us to the letter which is equal to 200. You're done looking something up?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah.
Which is the letter resh. So
this is where the French gets really insane. So 90 is 90, which is 40, 20, 10. So which means 199 is 190. 199. So 140
nuts.
140 2019.
fun fact, I just discovered that there is a limit to how many brands you can have. But sorry, banners, my bad.
Yes.
So I can't add another word.
You could if you
Like-
delete the old ones.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm deleting some of the old words. So basically, it's the equivalent of the letter R. There really isn't
Okay.
anything too special about it. It's Reish.
Reish Al Ghul.
Yeah, like Reish Al Ghul. There's another story in which I can explain to you why it's not actually Reish, it's Raz, but that's a story for another time.
Yeah.
Which kind of deals with another Hebrew similar language. But this is what it looks like in the writing equivalent. And now we move on to the word that I tried to add. Can you tell me what this word is from the letters that we've already studied today?
So Reish, Gimel, Beta.
Bait.
Sorry. Actually, I don't know what the word is, but at least I was able to figure out the letters.
It's my name.
Rajev.
Regev.
Regev. Okay,
there
so
is-
you have a hard G.
Yeah, there is no apostrophe over the gimel.
Gotcha. Okay, so Regev, if there's an apostrophe with it, Regev, which is how I've been saying it. Regev. Okay. So your name rhymes is almost similar to reggae.
That, believe it or not, that's exactly what my grandma said when my mom told her what she named me. He's like, "Oh, reggae! It's like the dance."
That's actually a good way to remember how to pronounce your name. Think
Yeah,
of it
it's
like
like
reggae.
reggae, reggae, but with a V at the end.
And then, so your last name, how is that pronounced? Regev
Ben Weiss.
Ben Weiss. Okay, so literally that one is how it looks. Okay.
That I specifically spelled it incorrectly to make it sound
Yeah.
or be pronounced the way it's supposed
You
to.
remember
be.
the first time I ever introduced you on camera and I thought your name was Ben as well?
Yes, yeah, I do remember that. Wow, that seems like such a long freaking time ago.
It was a long time ago. We were looking at like 3 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's a trip down nostalgia lane. And you know
Yeah.
what? That's another thing that wouldn't have happened without this guy.
Amen, man. The patron saint of the Benverse.
Yep, the original Ben.
Speaking of which, Ben, can you talk to the guy upstairs and tell him to quit making it snow?
Yeah,
Sorry, I don't like this. I don't like cold.
I don't. I think the guy upstairs is done listening to us mortal humans a long time ago. Anyway, we've only got 2 letters left.
Okay,
Okay, are you ready for this?
I am.
Are you ready for the letter Sheen?
The one that looks like my dog when I'm petting his belly.
Wait, your dog has 4 sets of, sorry, 6
Well,
sets of
when
legs?
my dog is in the mood when I'm, petting whatever, and he turns up, all 4 of his legs just go straight up. No. He gets like rigor mortis, and he just goes straight. And it kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, but this has like 6 sets of arms if you're looking in a profile.
True. Well, unless you use the one thing on the left as the head.
Oh, that's one way of looking at it. Yeah, I like that.
And if you actually look at it at a 90-degree angle, it looks like an E that's grinning.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's a laughing E.
It's a laughing E, yeah. Which is funny that it's named Sheen.
Yeah, like Michael Sheen.
I was thinking Charlie, but yeah, Michael Sheen, yeah.
Well, if you're gonna think of a Sheen, might as well think of the better one. Anyway,
Martin?
to Sheen.
I like that. To Sheen, but that's all, folks. That we're wrapping it up there.
Hold on. Now, the letter Sheen is, you probably guessed it by now, it's a sh sound.
Okay.
Sh. However, depending on the pronunciation, the punctuation, it could just as well be s.
Oh.
Another samech, which is when it transitions from being a sheen to being a sin.
Cool.
Which also brings us to 2 other words that I brought. First of all, here's an example of how this word is Sorry, here's an example of the letter sheen as a sh sound.
So the apostrophe sh.
It's not an apostrophe, it's yud.
Oh, sorry, Yud sheen. Is that the Raz?
Reish.
Right. Okay. Yud shinaz. I don't know what that means.
Yashar,
Yashara. Okay.
which means
Which means what? Sorry, you kind of broke up
like
a
a
little bit there.
sign.
Like like a
Sorry,
sign.
it means no. It means straight,
Oh. Okay.
straight, like a straight
Like a straight
line.
line. Okay.
Now this is an example.
Okay.
This is an example. This is an example of the letter sheen used as a s sound.
Oh. So you Jesus.
I did tell you it's going to get complicated.
Yeah, no shit. What was that last letter again? I didn't write it in that form.
It's lamed.
Lamed. Okay. So Islam? No, that's fucking way off. Sorry. Sorry. No, sorry. I'm reading it the wrong way. I was reading it the wrong way.
Oh yeah, right. I forgot.
Yeah.
You need to read it
Right to
from
left.
right to left instead of left to right.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's Yisrael.
So I kind of was in the ballpark.
The Hebrew word for Israel.
Israel. Nice.
Yeah. And there's a reason I brought up these two words specifically, the word Yashar and the word Yisrael. That is how Israel got its name. Yeah, the name Israel is derived from, or rather the name Yisrael is derived from two words, Yashar and El. Yashar means straight, El means God. So this is the
Israel is a straight, it's basically straight path to God.
Yeah, pretty much. That is the
makes
land.
So much sense.
that is the land that God saw fit to his people too.
That makes sense when you actually look at the meaning of the word. Yeah. I like
that. Now we're on to the final word in the Hebrew alphabet, the word whose numerical value is equal to 400. Tough.
Tough nuggies.
Tough. Which basically, or some people say tav, and again, I'll never understand why, but it's tough, and it means it's another T. So sometimes the letter, where is it? The letter tet is sometimes the equivalent of two T's, while the letter tav is basically one letter T.
Okay. So basically, if you see a word that if you translate in English has two T's, you would see the other one.
Yeah. It's sort of similar to how the letter kuf is basically the equivalent of K, while kaf or kaf is basically a C because of the CH connection.
Yeah. Okay.
I never understood why any language needs two letters that basically mean the same thing, like K and C, or kuf or chaf or taf and tet, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
So the letter taf, this is what it looks like in printing, and this is sort of the writing equivalent.
Okay, I've seen symbols similar to that other one, but obviously not in this context.
Yeah, basically it's like resh, the letter resh with a nun attached to it.
So then let's bring up the other one.
Which one? This one?
Yeah. So it almost kind of reminds me of what's the name of that note? An eighth note. Not an eighth note. Fuck. Sorry, it looks like a music note. They shit. I've been playing music for 23 years, 25 years, and I can't even remember what the hell it's called.
Shame on you.
I know.
You know what is also another good example? It kind of looks like the letter pi.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's true.
Yeah. Now I did mention that this is the letter that is the equivalent of 400. And since we don't really have an equivalent to 500, we just basically reverted back to being idiots, and instead of just having another letter, we just go for 500 tough kuf. Basically, so like 511 is is tough kuf yud aleph.
Okay.
And 911 is tough kuf yud aleph. Yeah, we go stupid like that sometimes. Now, to wrap this up, now that you have all the
Oh, it's an eighth note. I was right, but for some reason I was blanking. Bring that up.
Hold on. It moved into banners for a second there.
All right.
This
that looks
the
other one. That one. It looks like an eighth note. I'm like in my head. I'm like it's an eighth note, But I'm like, no, that's something else. It's a fucking eighth note.
I mean, I suppose it's leftover from when we used to both study for trivia matches, right? Like know the answer, but your brain refuses to say it.
Because like I said, I should be ashamed of myself because I read music notes every Tuesday.
Okay, so now I have a few words for us to read.
Okay.
And again, remember to read from right to left instead of left to right.
Yude.
Yeah, so this is the first one.
So Shin Lumed. Okay, because that I which one is that again? I'm gonna put that right beside it.
It's Vav. Sorry.
It's Vav.
Sometimes the font just removes the little pointy thing at the top.
Okay. So also I. Okay, so Sheen, Lumed,
Lamed.
Vav, Sumek.
No, it's mem. It's a suffix mem. It's notice that it's square, not a circle.
Okay, so Sheen, Vav, Sheen, Shalom.
Yes, shalom. Now, can you tell me what this word means?
Shit. What is that? That's not the sumek at the first beginning, is it?
That is a summit because it's round.
Sumek.
It's not square.
Sumek.
And it also it's at the beginning. It's not a suffix letter.
Sumek Vav Raz. Where the fuck is that detached?
That's not a Raz. That's a Dalid.
Oh. So Sumek Vav Dalek. Hey. Sumek Vav Dalek. Hey Vav. Show? No. I don't know.
Samech Vav Dalid Hey. It's soda.
Son of a bitch. Okay.
I mean, it's literally on your name tag. Well, what
motherfucker. Touche. Touchine.
Now, here's the more complicated one. Can you tell me what this is?
Oh, fuck me. Where is the one with the one with the roof? Which one was that again?
Mem.
That's what I thought. Okay, so also I'm just gonna have that thing beside it. Okay, so mem lud, and that is what is that beside it again?
The one in the center.
The one on the left.
It's a suffix chaf.
Suffix hof. Okay, so mem sloth.
What?
No, I don't know.
Melech. It means king.
Oh, cool.
And can you tell me?
There's no way I would have gotten that one.
Can you tell me what this word means?
Oh, so that is a suffix of which one again?
It's not a suffix. It's at the beginning of the letter. Remember, you're reading from right to left.
No, I know. But I'm asking the one that looks like the O. That's not a suffix, is it?
It's a samech because it's at the beginning of the letter.
Okay. Samech. Samech vav. Meme.
It's not a vav, it's a yud.
Oh. Oh.
Samech, yud, mem, bet, hey.
Simba.
Yes. I mean, you know me all too well, don't
No,
you?
there's your Lion King reference.
Okay, final one, and
When
remember.
you start spelling them out phonetically, then I'm like, oh fuck.
So
Okay.
this is the final one, and I'm warning you in advance. It's 2 words.
Oh, okay, cool. Ah, shit. Which is that first letter again?
The first is B, is a bit. It's a B.
Oh, okay. So B and Raz?
Reish.
Resh, sorry. B, Resh. Bear?
No, but you're in the ballpark. Again, remember, it's 2 words, not 1 word.
Oh.
There's a space in between the two.
Yes. Sorry. I don't know that one. I'm sorry.
The 2 letters at the end. Doesn't that remind you of anything? The noon and the reish.
Moon and stars? No. I'm sorry.
It's this guy.
It's Ben. Ben Rayner.
Ben-
Ben's name.
Ben Rayner.
I had a feeling it was going to that, but just trying to translate it, I just wasn't sure.
Well, at least you
Hey,
learned.
at least I got one right.
Yeah, and it's this one.
No, actually, I got 2 right.
Actually, yeah, you got shalom. Yeah, shalom. Which brings me to this. This is Shalom Kita Aleph, basically meaning hello first grade.
Very nice.
It's the greeting that one says when everyone starts school. Hello first grade, because we don't have we do have first grade, second grade, third grade, but it's with letters, with the letters with a numerical value. We've got grade Aleph, grade Bet, grade Gimel, all the way to 10th grade, which is the grade Yud. After that, it's grade Yud Aleph and grade Yud Bet. These are the final.
You guys also go to grade 12 then.
Yeah, that's how we do it. We don't have senior year, sophomore year, whatever.
We in Canada, that's only an American thing.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, that's only an American thing. Like, I mean, we will occasionally use this, like, oh, my senior year, but I mean, yeah, it's generally grade 12, grade 11, grade 10, blah, blah, blah. That's only an American thing.
I did not know that. So, yeah, we go first grade all the way to 12th grade, and in some cases, specifically when students are being further recruited into certain branches of the military, there's also a 14th, 13th, and 14th grades Yud Gimel and Yud Dalid.
So we don't have a 14th. We have in Canada, anyways, mostly back east where I was born. We have a grade it's not called grade 13. It's more called Cégep, which is kind of like it's like an in between your senior year of high school and your first year of college. So it's technically grade 13. And we also have kindergarten here, which is right before grade 1. I don't know if you have that.
We do, yeah.
Okay, which is a German word, so I found that out.
Yeah, kindergarten. Kinder means children in. Which, by the way, Kinder is also a German snack. German.
You're surprised.
Chocolate. So you do have that one over there, the Kinder Surprise with the egg.
Yeah.
Because I once heard a story that it was completely banned in the U.S.
I'm not in the U.S., man.
Well, I thought it was banned all over America.
No. It's banned by the snowflakes south of the border.
Okay, so
it's a choking hazard or some shit like that. And I'm like, pretty sure up here.
No, it goes into the story that I heard because some kid choked on some of the parts, so they banned it all over U.S. Interestingly, that America is the only country stupid enough to do that.
Right?
Yeah.
Can be surprised. I'm just double checking on that, but I'm pretty sure it's only in the States.
Okay. I
Yeah,
did not
nothing.
know that.
In Canada, yeah, there was in 2022 there was a recall of 23 of the products. It was a voluntary recall, so nothing official. But yeah, all the stuff that we were talking about, that's all the states.
So, fun fact about the Kinder Surprise with the egg, and I think we'll use that as the end for this episode. So, I mean, it's always been a thing here with the surprise egg with the prizes inside and really good chocolate. For some ridiculously stupid reason, at some point in the mid 2000s, they just stopped making it, or rather, they stopped shipping it over here completely, and instead they transitioned into something different called Kinder Joy, which it's the shape of an egg, but in a sort of a plasticky shape that sort of splits in half. One half has the toy in it, and the other half has this cream with like these two nuts in it.
That's definitely not some you see here.
Two chocolate covered nuts, and it's, I mean, it's not horrible, but it's not the Kinder Surprise that we grew up with.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I haven't had one in many, many years. But what's funny is I had a teacher in high school who collected the Kinder Surprise little toys.
I used to collect these things as a kid.
Yeah, me too.
I think my mom has like collections, plural, of the Kinder Surprise prizes that we had. So in 2011-ish, I went to Poland as part of a school trip. There's like that actually could be a topic for another episode, but it's like a yearly trip to Poland to sort of study and learn about the Holocaust.
Cool.
And while we were there, of course, they on certain locations and certain dates they allow us to go to certain shops and stores. And we went to this bar once, and we found that they're still selling the regular old Kinder Surprise, the proper ones with the egg and the prize in the middle. So all the kids, we just bought as many as we could and smuggled them over across the border back to Israel. So we had them for a few months after we came back from the trip, and then like a couple of years ago, they finally came to their senses and they stopped bringing us the stupid Kinder Joy, and they went back to the proper, true Kinder Surprise egg that we all grew up with and loved. So that's a fun story to remember. Should we? I think we can wrap up this video.
Yeah.
So it's been educational.
You know what? This has been one of my favorite ones we've done so far.
Yeah, me too. I actually got to sound smart for once.
Dude, you always sound smart. Because now you're talking about something that I can't relate to.
I mean, I don't know if I sound smart or you just am, but
half of one, 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Anyways, so should we finish the episode by playing the intro, or do you just want to end recording?
Yeah, just play the intro, and then we can be out. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, thank you for watching. Do you have a topic for next week, by the way?
Not off the top of my head, no. I got to think about that one. Just because normally, for full disclosure, we recorded our previous episode the day we released it, so I didn't normally have 2 weeks between the two things. So I actually haven't sat down and thought about it yet.
And this was kind of my fault, but you know.
That's why it's always fun to have our pre-recording date so far in advance, so we still have enough wiggle room if we ever need to reschedule.
Okay, so let me know when you have your topic, or don't keep it a surprise. I don't know.
Actually, I do.
Oh, you do. You do.
Or should I wait a month? I'll explain to you in the green room.
Okay, cool. So here's the intro that I made, and have fun learning Hebrew, everybody. If you're gonna watch and rewatch this episode multiple times just to pick up the language. להתראות.